Hello everybody, Jen here, City of Minot. Happy Tuesday, happy Election Day, happy Planning Commission Day. Let's talk about the Minot City Council meeting last night. So this is a quick recap of the June 2nd Minot City Council meeting. The entire meeting is available for you to watch. It's on our YouTube and Facebook channels. Facebook does only keep it for 30 days, but it will exist on YouTube channels. By the numbers, it was a 3.5-hour meeting last night. Public appearances, we had 5 folks take the mic, and roll call was called 10 different times, including these votes. In consent items, 5.1 to 511, we did pull 510. The remaining passed. 510 was a rezone, a second reading of a rezone for property that belongs to Our Lady of Grace. It was pulled for more discussion, and we did hear more about it during public appearances later on in the meeting.
Alderman Blessum.
Yeah, so I guess from my perspective, I remember this from January. We went through our part of the process. It's been through the planning process. It was noticed for the city council meeting at that time. It was noticed for this meeting again. We've hit every step along the way. I don't know that, short of a petition that would have been brought, that there's anything further that we need to do. So I'm satisfied. I don't have any worries with that.
It did ultimately pass. That rezone was approved. In action items, 6.1 is a finance policy for the fund balance policy. This has to do with reserves and how much we're keeping in our savings accounts from year to year. Finance department had suggested 30% to 75% of our current budget be kept in reserves. An amendment was suggested for 30% to 50% that we would keep in reserves. Both failed. So that just means that we'll revert to current ordinances, current practices, and there will certainly be more discussion on that as we move through the budget process.
The question is always going to be is how much is enough and how much is too much? So that's the balancing act, and that's where I think we need to address that, and it should be part of the annual budget process and our longer term planning and vision. What do we have coming down the road? What are we comfortable with for a minimum, and what do we think we need to be putting aside to address some of these needs that we know that are 3 or 5 or 7 years down the road?
6.2 is the revised grant management and oversight policy. This has to do with our relationship with our federal transportation administration partners. 6.3 was the city canvassing board appointments and date selection. That did pass as well. We chose to nominate the 3 council members who are not running for that mayor seat, which before the meeting started last night, we drew for the order on the ballot for that mayoral ballot on August 5th. Our 4 candidates submitted at least 300 signatures. So that's Josiah Royce, Mark Janser, Paul Pittner, Rob Fuller. And that will be the order that you'll see them on the ballot on August 5th. 6.4 was a funding request from Service Basin Transit. If you want to just watch snippets of the council meeting, I would suggest going back to that. We had a representative, his name's Daryl.
I am concerned about the people outside the bus system. Those guys are not going to be able to get a ride without us. And those who cannot make it to the bus line cannot ride without us. I can't say no. So I want to do as much as I can. We're due diligent, like I said, because we are a nonprofit. We know what the value of $1 is.
We've talked about this on the paratransit side of the house as well, which we're looking at, having to put some additional funds, to run that piece of the operation, which is completely separate from the demand response. This $300,000 that is being asked for tonight is not at all paratransit. That's general public demand response services that Service Basin provides in the city. Another good note that I'll pass on to the council, the state did approve the urban transit study in the off-season for the legislature to be done. That was one of the approved studies that will be accomplished before the next state legislative session. So they'll be looking at additional more permanent funding sources as well 2 years down the road. So I think whatever the council can do to assist Service Basin through that time frame, I think would be prudent to the citizens of our community, because it is a very, very much needed service.
Demand response, that is the kicker. That is the guys who cannot walk to the bus service. They're too far away. They get dropped off too far away. I mean, I know what the systems are. I've been doing this for a long time.
He was requesting $261,000 to finish out this year. Council moved to approve $300,000 to finish out the year, not to exceed $300,000. That $300,000 would come from reserves. So that's Service Basin Transportation, not to be confused with Minot City Transit. Minot City Transit is the big bus. They are on a fixed route system. Service Basin Transportation are the smaller buses that you see, and those will come straight to your door. $300,000 was approved from reserves for Service Basin Transportation last night. So in miscellaneous and discussion items, we heard from Minot Area Council on the Arts, and skipping down to 8.3, we talked about our stormwater program and fee structure overview. So that was led by our city engineer, Lance Meyer. I would also recommend that presentation. Fast forward all the way to the end and hear how Lance describes our stormwater system. It's worth your time.
The common misconception that we get from the public is, hey, there's not a catch basin anywhere near me, so why am I paying for this? But what we have to explain to people is just because you don't have a catch basin near you, your runoff from your property still goes somewhere. It doesn't just stop at your property line. And so the system's made up of underground pipes and catch basins, open ditches and channels, and also retention and detention ponds that help regulate that water. And these all have to work together to manage that stormwater. You can't have one without the other.
Backing up to 8.2, we had our community contribution presentations. Minot Commission on Aging, First District Health Unit, Minot Area Chamber EDC. They presented for their economic workforce development and Task Force 21. So they have 5 funding buckets, and they were requesting funds for 2 of those buckets. Minot Area Council on the Arts presented, and Service Basin Planning Commission. I should have totaled this up for you. I'll make a little graphic, show you what they were requesting, what they requested last year. We are not obligated to fund them. No action was taken last night. This is just for consideration for council through the budget process. Finally, at the very end of the meeting, a credit on an alcohol license for base camp. They didn't get to use their 2024 license, just with some timeline difficulties. They did not sell alcohol in 2024, but they paid the city for their alcohol license. In the second meeting in May, we chose not to credit that back. We actually had an advocate from a competing alcohol license owner who came to public appearances and advocated for base camp to reconsider. Now that reconsideration can take place within the same meeting, or it can take place at the very next meeting. Our attorney talked us through that just a little bit. To call it back in the next meeting, it had to come from, that call needed to come from a council member who had a dissenting vote prior.
Alderman Olson.
And I'll say that I voted against it the last time because the request had not been made. But now hearing someone that is in business against them, coming to advocate for them, just to support them in this request, that's really what is changing my mind, because I think that is businesses working together, and that's why I would like to see this offered as a credit, not a refund, but offered as a credit.
It did pass to offer base camp a credit for their alcohol license for 2025 in reconsideration. I don't have a good ending for this one yet. So that's the Minot Minutiae. Please tell me what you'd like to hear more about, if this is helpful, and how we can help you be more involved, how I can be less long-winded. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to vote.